right, welcome to the show, Shane. How the hell are you today, bro?
Doing well. Exciting stuff going on. I think I told you about a week or two ago, my son started working at the firm, so that was exciting for me.
Yeah, how's that going? Yeah, you did tell me. How's that going?
Going good. We're having him rotate through the departments, so it's going to take some time because I think we mapped out like 6 months. He's spending some time in each department, depending on the complexity, maybe a shorter time, maybe a longer time. Right now, he's working in my intake department, doing some calling colder leads, so not the hot ones, but the cold ones. And he's working on that, so that's exciting just to have him in the firm.
Yeah.
And doing stuff, right? And
yeah.
That transition from college to, young adult.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's fun, dude. I'm jealous of you, bro. I'll be totally honest, because I always wanted my son to like just do what I did, whatever it was. I didn't even care. I mean, this was like kind of my dream, and him and I have had what shall we call a rough past.
Yeah.
So we're doing all right now. But yeah, so when I hear about your son, both of them are eventually going to end up there. But like hear about that, it's just, I'm excited for you, because that's just it's so validating in so many ways that you've built a life that not only that's provided a great life for your kids, but now your kids want a part of that life.
Yeah. We're excited. And, it took a lot of work in balancing different things, right? Like letting them see dad is happy, that dad also spends time with them, right? And, but also that we're financially successful, and that they've gotten used to not seeing me on my phone all the time and talking, doing client stuff at all hours. And I think they look at it and say, yeah, that's a good life, and we want to be a part of it, which I'm jazzed about. I mean, it took a ton of work, and it takes work to stay close to them anyway. But that issue is one of the main issues why I moved into the coaching space, right? And to help some lawyers is because I see lawyers where their kids would like, no, I'd never do that. I never want to be a lawyer, right?
Yeah.
And then they move away and go somewhere else. I mean, that's literally one of my main reasons why I get into it. That or I see lawyers set their life on fire, which is terrible too, because I got a great life. I love my life. And honestly, I wish everybody could have the life, you know what I mean? A life like mine.
Yeah. Which is I'm excited. I'm excited for you. I'm excited for him. So he's in intake, huh? How's he doing? Is he liking it?
Right now he's doing cold leads though, right? So there are people who talk to us like, the lead came in like I think like over 2 weeks ago. So for us that's pretty cold.
Yeah.
So it's really just sort of getting him used to doing some grinding and some calling and stuff, because honestly, if he gets somebody on the phone, he's supposed to transfer it to somebody who's had experience in closing clients, kind of deal. So that's not overly exciting, but this is ending up his 2 weeks in that spot. So he should be, doing a little bit more next week. And none of this is for mastery. It's all for just sort of wet your beak or see a little bit about it, so he can sort of have an idea of what he wants to do. But also, if he's going to be into any kind of management role, he needs to know how everything works.
Yeah. Well, and there's nothing bad that I've ever come from somebody being forced to pick up a phone and make a cold call. Like, is it scary? Is it hard? Is it all those things? Yes. I remember the first time I had to do it, and it was years ago. It was actually terrifying.
Oh, I'm sure it was. I'm trying to think when mine was, right? But I mean, it was, like my first client call, right? Because, like, to be clear, these are people who've contacted our firm, and then we didn't close them, and now but they also didn't tell us to go, screw you, I don't want to talk to you either.
Right.
They just didn't get closed, or they put an inquiry in and then we haven't made contact, right? So these are
so they have made some. It's not like so it's not you're calling out of the phone book.
No, because lawyers can't do that anyway, right? So if you're calling out of the phone book, you've got you've got a different issue that's the ethics.
You're gonna have fun there. So
you're gonna go downhill pretty quick.
Well, dude, my first cold calling experience was when I was young, I'm like 19, something like that, and I literally called out of the phone book.
Yeah.
So I'm sure we were breaking rules, but it wasn't in the legal space. It was in but it was very regulated. It's in the mortgage space. Yeah. So I just had some brokers.
I don't know. I get stuff about home finance loans all the time to my phone, right? I don't know what list I'm on, but lawyers can't do that, right?
Yeah.
So, uh, so we've got to all.
But it's good. It's good for him. I'm curious. I'd be curious because we're like today's conversation is about intake, which it works perfectly that your son's actually in intake right now, and I'd be curious to hear his impressions when he's done with intake on what he thinks like the culture of intake is at the firm. That would be a very because he's outside the game. He's coming in new, fresh eyes. He doesn't have any narratives or stories that are going to taint what he sees. He's just going to see what he sees. And I don't know, sometimes even though doesn't have a ton of experience in intake, right? He's just kind of getting his beak wet, as you say. And it'd be interesting. I don't know. It'd be interesting to find out what his take is on that. Because, dude, intake is the lifeblood of the machine. If you don't bring people into the machine, I don't care how good your attorneys are, and you could be the best litigator in the whole entire world. If you don't bring in new files, then it doesn't really matter. And this is the end all be all, right? Most people, this is what they want to talk about: intake.
That's intake and marketing is pretty much what like everybody wants to talk about, which I get, right? Because you can't grow without more cases coming in. But you got to have some fulfillment stuff too and some operations. I think intake and marketing is the sexy part of running a law firm, right? And it's the exciting, right? You can't be at the bar talking to other lawyers and talk about, hey, dude, I got my treatment meeting set up, and I got my nurse going through with my lawyers talking about the cases and how to make them better. Nobody ever does that, right? We talk about intake.
Well, nobody would care. That would be boring as hell.
And top line revenue. That's really what everybody wants to talk about, which, that's a pet peeve of mine too. People talk about top line revenue all the time, and they get a little vague sometimes on the margins, right? And we see this especially in smaller law firms in particular, I would say, right? Where there's 1 to 3 people. They want to talk about total revenue, but then, they get really vague on how much money they're really making and what's going on there, especially if you dig into specifics about, the numbers.
Well, here, my experience has been that when they do that and then I find out what they actually make profit, it's very low.
Yeah.
Like it's nowhere near, it's not, and this is why they do it, right? And I get it. Like I understand you don't want to you don't want to be an attorney that owns your own firm and you made $150,000. Like that's just not what you want when you could go get a job for somebody and make more than that.
There's a lot to make less than the 150, Trevor.
That's
especially when you go into the smaller shops. It's sometimes it's brutal. I mean, you talk to people and you're like, you're working really hard for nothing, right? And then the other trap I hear them say is, well, I got to do this stuff for my accountant. He says it's better to do this and that, and they don't even know how much they make, or they want to say, well, I expensed all this stuff. Well, is it all? If it's all related to work, you should be expensing that, right?
Yeah.
So getting vague on that, and I think our theme is overcomplicate. People overcomplicate things, and trying to track all their numbers, and I think that's so true. I mean, especially when it comes to the finances. And I've talked to multiple people, and I'll be like, so how'd you do last month? Like, I don't know. I'm waiting on the accountant to tell me. Well, how long is that going to take? Well, it takes like 30 days. So you've complicated your system so much that you don't know whether you made any money for 30 days.
Yeah.
I'm like, what is going on, dude? I'm like, when I had a baby law firm, this is my complicated accounting system, Trevor. You ready? Started the month with 10 grand in the account. What did I have in the account at the end of the month? 20 grand. Oh, I made 10 grand. 7 grand. Oh, crap, I lost 3 grand. Right? And, I mean, that was my complicated system. And
well, it works.
It works. And we did that for a long time, right? And a really long time. And then we shifted to, well, we're not going to be so tight. We're going to look at it on a quarterly basis because we run a PI firm. And at the time when we were smaller, you have bigger ups and lows kind of deal. So I said, as long as I look at it quarterly and the numbers work, I'm good to go, right? So I'm not going to stress about 1 month we're a little light. Not saying that's the best plan. There's a whole bunch of reasons why that's not the best plan. But that's what I did. But it was still this basic thing, right? How much is in the account when we started the quarter? how much went into the quarter. This is how much money I made. I don't care what the accountant says. This is how much money I legit made.
Yeah. Where do you feel like the firms tend to overcomplicate the most? Like where's that where is that area? Do you feel like there's a particular area, or is it just?
I think they go down two paths, right? The one is where they don't complicate anything, and it's just everything's by feelings and everything's vague, right? Like the one who says, hey, I get every client I want that talks to me.
Right.
I'm like, everybody who calls the firm that we want that case, we get. I'm like, really? That's absolutely not true. You know,
100% a lie unless you're a savant.
I will bet you a ton of money that's not accurate. You know, and I mean, just like a large sum of money. Like
so they'll basically over embellish, like they'll basically
everything's by feelings, right? So they do there, and then I think accounting is a huge area where they overcomplicate stuff. They overcomplicate it to the extent where they don't want to run the numbers, they don't want to dig into it, so they overcomplicate it and say, well, I got an account, and they abdicate it, right? They send it all to the accountant. The accountant's going to tell me how much I made. They're going to send me my P&L. I mean, hell, most don't even know what a P&L is, for crying out loud, because we're lawyers, we're not accountants. And two, it doesn't even matter. I mean, because what matters is how much money can you pull out of your firm on a monthly or quarterly basis to pay you and your family without endangering the firm, right? Figuring out your operating, how much you're going to leave in there, how much can you pull out, right? That's as complicated as it needs to be for most lawyers.
Yeah.
On a consistent basis. But then also in all their metrics, right? I've seen lawyers, and you've seen them, I know, where we start talking to them about, hey, we need to get some numbers down so we know where you're at. And then they're like, okay. And they want to, and we're like, and especially if you give them the bandwidth, right? And say, what numbers do you want to track? They come up with one or two, then next thing you know, they send you a list of 40 things they want to track.
Yeah.
And
well, it's almost what you're in one of two camps. You either don't track anything,
or you want
and then you want everything, but you don't even know what you would do with that data.
No.
Like it's like I've got this report. There's a company I'm working with right now, and their sales intake side is just in shambles. There is no system. It is the wild, wild west. It's chaos, right? And so, like, for a month now, I've been like, dude, you just need to sell some shit. Just sell. Like, that's all that needs to happen. What's going to solve your problems is bring some cash in, right? And so a month, mind you, this is going to be, you're going to love this, Shane. So there's a month, sell some shit, every single week. There's a different reason why they haven't quite sold anything yet, because it's complicated and it's this and it's that. Now, 1 month goes by, and he is so proud to tell me about this dashboard that was created. He's got this really cool dashboard that he didn't even create it. His marketing person created it, and it has all these really cool things on it, and it tracks this and that and everything else. And he's sharing it with me, and I'm like, bless your sweet little heart. And he gets done, and I'm like, okay, what have you actually done with any of that information?
Right.
Because a month ago, I said there's one objective that you have: sell shit. And all you've done is sold nothing, and you've created a dashboard with all this stuff.
You what to do, right? Are you tracking a number that really matters or not? Or
he wasn't. No, because when he showed me the dashboard, he was very proud of it. I'm like, oh my gosh, there is so much stuff on here that is irrelevant.
It is.
Means nothing. What do we need to know? How many leads did you come in? How many? And how, are you closing them or not? How many sales? How many attempts to calls? Like all of the simple things on an intake that you could get into the weeds on, but like. That wasn't there, but it was that adage, right? He had nothing, and so we went from I have nothing, I have no tracking, I don't even know what the heck we're doing over here, to the pendulum swung all the way the other direction, and then it was over here, and then it was really complicated. And then to create that report, they don't have any automation in it, so in order for that dashboard to be updated, he then has to pay somebody a bunch of money to spend it's not a short amount of time. The amount of shit he had on that dashboard, I'm like, dude.
I'm sure it's probably 20 hours a week kind of deal.
Yeah, I'm like, dude, you got a part-time employee just to give you a dashboard that means nothing.
And if you're not real careful, what will happen is that employee will be out or they'll be sick, so your dashboard's not updated, and you're like, I can't even do anything.
Yep.
Right? Because and automation is a separate topic, but
right.
There's a ton. I mean, it certainly has to be done. I mean, that's a big issue for mine. Is I don't want anything somebody's got to manually do a spreadsheet on, right?
Yep.
I mean, that's wild and crazy to me.
Well, especially now with AI. Like if you're still doing that, you just because you don't know the right system yet.
But yeah, I think like intake and how they're going to track stuff. I see that and building their first list. I see people overcomplicate stuff too, right? Those are huge issues in the marketing. Like, my gut reaction is, right, how many leads come in? How many are qualified? Of the qualified ones, how do we convert? And what's our end number, right? And then you get to your cost per case and all that, and you can do cost per case per lead source versus, oh, well, these cases are more valuable than others. All of that's great at some point, but in the beginning, how many leads come in? How many did we sign? That's, that's like 101, right? But that's...
it's kind of like creating, so like in marketing, they have a thing called the control, right? Which is when you start a marketing campaign, you don't really have any basis of numbers to go off of. You have what's ideal in the industry, right? As an attorney, if I do these ads, I should get this return. But you don't have it with yours and your messaging. Right. So that first thing you have to do is create the control. And that just means you have the baseline for what is the standard for when I do this, and then you can start tweaking with that. And I think to your point, Shane, this is what you're talking about and this is so powerful. That's why I wanted to reemphasize. You've got to just take the action to create that control in your world. But the control is very simple. It's and I think the complexity helps us feel busy without actually doing anything.
I was going to say that, and that goes to my second issue. I said it was with list maintenance, but it's actually with everything. When I talk to somebody, and I'm sure this happens to you, and they're going to start tracking something, invariably they always want to go back some amount of time and track stuff in the past. Right? They're like, oh, let me get all the leads for last quarter and how many became clients. And what that does is it delays them sometimes 30, 60 days from tracking again. And my default is, hey, it's great if we can, but let's start tracking today from today's numbers forward. And now if you can find some time to go back 90 days or 30 days, great. Then we can have that data and compare this month to last month. But don't not start tracking today so that I can get some other info in, right? I see this with lists when they decide they're going to do a campaign and talk to their current clients, all their past clients. I'm like, great, what are you doing now? Well, now we started from when the firm first started. We're going through all the files, or we're starting from 3 years ago to get all of them in. Like, what about just starting today with everybody who contacts the firm today and going forward, and every month maybe you go back 1 month to add something on? Well, they're like, well, that's not what we want to do. I know it's not what you want to do, because my method will get you sending out to your list in the next 30 days. Your method says it's going to be a year or never, because you're going to start working on it and you're going to give up because it's too big a project. So those
I think, things. I think too, it's looking at what is the purpose of the things that you're complicating it with, right? And the reports and the this and the that, everything you're doing there, we have to remember, what is the point? Right. The point is to drive an outcome. That's it. But if the action itself is pulling you away from the outcome, or the action that will give you the outcome, right, is creating a report instead of jumping on calls and calling leads, creating a report so you can track the leads that you're going to call, but then you've got leads that sit there and then they become stale because you were creating this report. Well, that's counterproductive. Right?
My CO used to ask me, he goes, I can get this data for you, but what are you going to do with the data? Right? What are you going to do with this when you see it? And sometimes I'm like, I don't know. I just want to know it. He's like, that's not a good plan, boss. Right?
It's like, that's a terrible idea.
It's like 5 hours worth of work, and you don't even know what you're going to do with it. Are you going to change anything that's going on? No. Are you going to change anything whatsoever? No. Then I think we probably shouldn't spend the 5 hours doing it.
Yeah.
And you're like,
You're like, right. Fine. You're like, good call. Good call.
What's the point of the note? That's why I pay you a bunch of money to tell me,
Yeah, well, it's keeping, and I think there's got to be, we've got to be honest. There's a bit of laziness involved in that, and when I say lazy, I'm never really talking about someone who's not working. It's just laziness in what action they're taking, because it's easier to take that. It's easier to, which sounds silly, because it's easier to complicate it.
It is.
It's easier to spend time doing that, right? I give myself that 5 hour window and I create this report for Shane, and here we go. Here's this report, and that was an easy. I mean, I had to do some stuff, but it was easy. It wasn't complicated. It wasn't scary. It didn't stretch me. It had nothing to do with growth.
Well, and and I struggle with this, right? Because there's all the things you can track, right? In a law firm, you can track a ton of things no matter how big you are. You can track dozens of things. And like I'm trying to talk to my lawyers and get them to track certain things with their junior attorneys too, right? And it's like I can come up with a whole list, and everybody wants a list of like 15 things, which is great. But really, if you as the leader can spend the work to figure out which of these numbers really matter, right? Really matter and move the needle, those are the numbers you really need to track. And usually it's only a couple in each department at least, right?
Yeah.
Like I as the boss don't have to track everything in intake and marketing. I should track a few things. Now my sales manager or whoever's doing that should track a whole bunch of other things. But me as the leader, I don't need to know what Joe's conversion rate is. Unless, and honestly, if there's a problem, my manager should be telling me Joe's conversion rate stinks and here's what he's doing to fix it.
Yeah.
I shouldn't be trying to like I said, we overcomplicate because, like you say, it's easy and it's fun, and we don't do the hard work to figure out what really moves the needle. Instead, we just say, give me all this data.
Yeah. Yeah. And we magically think the data is going to solve the problem when it really won't. There's a lot of times, like, especially if you're struggling in your intake side, and if you don't have the leads coming in or whatever, or you're like, why aren't we closing, et cetera. Like having the data is good because you want to know where to focus, right? You want to focus on, but you don't need micro data down to the lowest level to figure that out. It's very simple.
You need to close stuff. You don't need to figure out a project that's going to take 60 days for you to get the data, right? You need enough data you can get in like 3 hours so you can make some changes.
Yep.
And that's the overcomplicating. Like, let's just analyze this over the next 90 days, but come up with what the problem is. Dude, know the problem.
Oh, yeah.
I can sit in your intake room for like an hour and tell you the problem.
Nope.
You can sit in it and problem. Any lawyer can sit in there and see the problem.
Yeah, I think the key then, and as we kind of look at action steps, like what can you do? I think the action step is not to go back and look at a damn thing. The action step is to starting right now. Where's it at? Pick the area, pick the place, and just realize what needs to be tracked in order to create actionable items going forward, if that's anything.
And less than 5 things. Track less than 5.
Yep. Keep it simple. Keep it simple. Look at the key things there, and then move the needle, and then drive action that's working towards those, not more time spent analyzing. If we spent more time doing and less time analyzing, what we don't understand, guys, is most of you guys, your planes are already in the air flying.
Yeah.
Which means you got to build it while it's flying. So you don't have the luxury, unless you've got Daddy Warbucks who gave you a big chunk of cash and you're sitting around. You don't have the luxury to sit there in the hangar and build the plane. Yep. The plane is already going. So you got to build, which means you cannot look at every nuance inside of every little thing. Nope. What's my altitude and where am I headed? Yeah. There we go. That's what I'm worried about right now. Right? Yep. Yeah. The couple key metrics. Are there other variables? For sure.
3 to 5. And 3 is better than 5.
Yeah. So, which means 3. So screw the 5, 3. Pick 3, those metrics. So if you guys want help, we've got our book, The Invisible Ceiling, that we're giving away for free. This has a lot of the things we talk about here on the show deep inside this book, and we want to get you a copy of the book. To get that, just click the link below here in the description, regardless whether you're on this on YouTube or audio, wherever you're at. We appreciate you guys being being listeners to the show. You're helping the show grow by one very specific way, which is share the show. All right, if you got value from today's show and you get value from the series that we continue to run through here, we do this for that reason. So if you get value, go ahead and share this up with somebody else that would also receive the same value that you've had today with it. And again, get that copy of the book. It's free. Just click the link in the description below. Any final thoughts, Shane, as we wrap today?
No, I think you're right. 3. Track 3 things in each department that move the needle. Sometimes all you need is 1, but 3 is definitely no more than that.
All right, perfect.
Start today. No going back 90 days.
Exactly. Start today. Today's day 1. All right, appreciate you guys being a listener to the show. Have a fantastic rest of your day. We're out.